Johnny Caw, A Tall Tale by Devin Scillian, illustrated by Brad Sneed. He was born on a night when a stormy wind blew, 5 minutes old, already 6 feet 2. And there was never a baby as big as Johnny Caw. That bodacious baby was the talk of the town. Folks came to look from all around. Seen every hour he gained a pound. Doctors paced and fretted and frowned. But that baby just smiled in a crib way too small for Johnny Caw. 10 gallons of milk and 4 loaves of bread. 5 or 6 quarts of strawberry spread. A dozen eggs, grapes by the bunch. And then a snack to hold him till lunch. Ma said, "Pa, he needs room to play. If that boy's going to eat this way, we're going to need a farm as big enough for our Johnny Caw." So on a hot sunny day they packed and dressed. Pa built a wagon and pointed it west. But there wasn't near enough room for Johnny Caw. The big boy laughed and said, "Pay it no mind. I'd rather walk, I'm feeling fine." And they left that city far behind. Why, even the horses got to ride inside that wagon pulled along by Johnny Caw. The Missouri River was plenty wide, and by the time they reached the other side, Papa smiled and Mama cried, for they both knew down deep inside they had found a home for them and Johnny Caw. Johnny sat down to pet his big dog Sally, and when he got up he had made a little valley where Ma and Pa could build their shack. And there on the little porch out back, Pa hung a swing, wooden and white, where Ma watched the sun set every night, and life just felt so very right to them and Johnny Caw. At day's first light behind a horse and cow, Pa set out with a razor-sharp plow. But each step he took seemed to rattle his bones, for the earth was full of jagged stones, and it looked like a job for Johnny Caw. With his great big hands he reached down below, he pulled up each stone and gave it a throw. And in no time at all, the big boy's toil had created the world's most perfect soil. All those stones, as you might have guessed, made quite a pile way out west. Pa just laughed when the day was done, and the Rocky Mountains gleamed in the sun. All in all, it was kind of fun, laughed gentle Johnny Caw. Pa poked the earth with a long-handled hoe, and thought about which crop he might grow. Beneath the sun that was bright as brass, Johnny was chewing on a big blade of grass. He spat out some seed that blew in the wind, and before he and Pa could even begin, there were miles of wheat to tend. "Honest to goodness, you've done it again," Pa said to big Johnny Caw. Late that night in their back porch swing, Pa played a fiddle and Ma would sing. A perfect sunset fell on the plain, over miles and miles of golden grain, and gentle and sweet were the dreams of Johnny Caw. One day Pa said, "It smells like rain," and the great wind turned the old weather vane. Ma said, "It's fine, the wheat needs to grow." But that mighty wind began to blow and blow and blow and blow, you know. The western sky turned a wicked black, and thunder rolled and the lightning cracked, and Johnny said, "I'll be right back." He returned in a lick with the scythe he'd made from a cottonwood trunk and a windmill blade. He smiled at his folks and said, "Don't be afraid." And off toward the storm ran Johnny Caw. That cyclone twister was 5 miles wide, ripping up trees to toss them aside. It turned to the right and then turned back, and its path led right to Ma and Pa's shack. But Johnny stood tall in the cyclone's roar, guarding the path to Ma and Pa's door. He swung his scythe as he laughed out loud and sliced off the top of that cyclone cloud. The winds died away, and the rain so sweet fell gentle and soft on the glistening wheat, and tickled the toes of the big bare feet of happy Johnny Caw. So life was perfect in every way, with sunsets and songs to end each day. But when Johnny's ma was old and gray, one winter morning she passed away. And for the first time since he'd been born, Johnny didn't have the smile he'd worn. And as sad as he was, Pa was mostly worried about Johnny Caw. But Johnny could hear her tender song, for the old woman's spirit was still so strong. He said, "Pa, she's here, I know it's true." And Pa said, "Son, I think so too." She was everywhere and all around, and she wanted to watch that sun go down. Yes, sure as rain she'd want her view, so Johnny Caw knew what to do. He cleared every tree and left Kansas bare, so she could see that sunset from anywhere. Up through Nebraska, across the Platte, tree after tree was knocked down flat. Into the Dakotas, to the great white north, he swung his scythe back and forth, across Oklahoma and down Texas way, and lo and behold, at the end of the day, the golden beam of the sun's last ray shone on the prairie and in the smile of Johnny Caw. And wherever she was smiling too. And Pa and Sally and me and you, for those fields of gold and the skies of blue still shine each morning and glisten anew, because that crib and that city were way too small for Johnny Caw.